Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about senior developers and what they look for in a company. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a senior developer, what are the key things you look for when you're choosing a company to work for? Are you a recruiter? Like honestly, are you a recruiter? Because this thing here, I, guys, I'll tell you a secret. This question I have been asked never on a YouTube comment, but many, 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 many times on LinkedIn. And it's never been from another software developer. I will answer this question and just give you the benefit of the doubt that you're not a recruiter. And if I get very alarmingly specific ads to a recruitment company or like a consultancy by the end of this video, I'm going to be very upset with you. But I'm going to give you an answer. First and foremost, I will say that I'm not so sure I would consider myself a senior level developer, a mid-level developer perhaps, but I can probably answer this from my perspective, and I can also give you a bit of a hint as to the different levels of seniority and what people usually look for when they're a lot more experienced than I am. So for me, what I look for in a company is first and foremost there has to be a base level of stability. That's different people need different levels of stability. The more what I've seen before is that usually when a software developer who is really really senior gets to closer to retirement age or like late 30s, 40s, and so forth, they start to look for big, like in many cases, bigger companies or stable companies where, well, I like to. This is something I tell my friends. Oh, they they're starting to look for a pasture to go out to. They're looking for a nice, quiet place where their career can go and die. If that's true or not, I don't know. They do. Oh, and I can't say that. I'm just going to back that up because I was about to mention a very specific place of work here in Gothenburg where we like to joke that you go there, your career goes there to die. Anywho, uh, so stability is definitely a factor, especially when you're like getting older, because you know that you're not. One part is that you mature as a human being, and one part is, of course, also that you know that your market value is dropping, and it's probably not going to be as easy to. I mean, you're not going to get as many calls and recruiters and so forth when you're getting to that age. Uh, so that's one part of it. But what's interesting is also that when you have someone who is a little bit more experienced, if you have like mid-level developers and so forth, they usually, and in some cases actually fairly senior senior people as well, they look for they look for a change. There's a lot of people who go through that at some point in their career, or at some point in their life. You know the old saying we have: you want to go and discover yourself or find yourself. It's in many ways, I would say, similar to that, where you might have been working for this really really big company for the longest time, and you've been doing it to the point where it's not really fun anymore, and then there's this cool little startup in your town or something like that, and you go, you know what, it would be pretty nice to work in a completely different environment. It would be nice to like try it out. I've been hearing so much about it and so forth. So you want to try it out, and this happens to many many people. It used to be the norm that you stayed at the same company for your entire career, but these days it's much more common that you move around a little bit and you try out different things. So what I usually look for, this is just the problem with me giving you my personal answer is that it's most likely, to a degree, it might be a reflection of what other developers might be looking for, but to me it's a little bit of an extreme. What I look for is the opportunity of personal growth. That's my primary concern. You can, of course, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's a lot of people who are looking at the paycheck. Senior developer, like as I said, like if you want to be the standard like statistic of a senior developer, you're looking for two things. You're looking for the best paycheck that you can get, and the second thing you're looking for is a stable environment where the company is going to be around. It's like there's not much risk involved. The third optional thing, which is really really favored by some of them, is that not everybody in the company is an idiot, and that's really hard to find. But for people like myself who still have a little bit of life spark left and actually really still enjoy things, I'm going to get really old and bitter at some point, don't you worry. But for now, personal growth is something that I look at a lot at. You will not find me take a job at a company where I go and do exactly the same thing I've been doing so far. Everything is about personal growth for me, and that is actually, it's very interesting because that means that the company, not only the team that I'm joining within the company, but also the prospects within that organization factors in a lot. So if, let's say, I'm looking at a very small startup, then it's very important that that startup has exactly the tools or the environment or the thing that I'm looking for, because I know that there's practically no options for me to move about. Like I can't, like it's just that little company, and they're like, I'm not going to be who the fuck. I mean, who cares if you're a manager of 3 people, or like you're not going to climb the ladder, a corporate ladder, in a really really small startup, unless you know you're there to actually really see that. If you really believe in the idea and you want to see it grow, whole different story. But just from that perspective, it might not be the best fit. In that scenario, if you're looking to climb the ladder and be more involved in management type of things, well, then looking at a mid-sized to larger corporation might be the thing for you. But then that's also a way off, because if you go into a really conservative old corporation and they hire you as a software developer, odds are that you will never be able to climb that ladder, because they're very very strict or very rigid or conservative in their value system, which means that you don't get a chance to showcase yourself. You're not really valued as an employee. Your boss doesn't see you, if that makes sense. And if your boss doesn't see you, there's no way for you to move up the ladder. The only time anybody gets promoted is if somebody else quits. That's also not a good environment if that's the thing that you're looking for. Other things that I would look at is like specific toolings. If, let's say, that I know, like I'll give you a concrete example actually from my own life. I know that I want to get better at operations and cloud management, for example, which means that if I'm looking for a job outside of my own company, I'm going to look for jobs where I get to get exposed to that sort of thing. Because just taking another, say, I don't know, front end or full stack or back end, another application developer job, is not going to make me a better developer. It's not going to grow me practically, because I've been doing it for so long now that at this point it's I like to say that learning anything is like it's a line. It's a line that just keeps on moving forward. And in the beginning, everything is new, and that's where the line continues. And ever so often, you will get to a challenge that is a repetition of the thing that you've already done, and then you loop. And then you move forward, the line continues, and then you loop again, because you can repeat something, and then you loop more. And the more you learn, the less you move the line forward. You're just looping. And in some areas, for myself, such as with application development, I'm more looping than moving forward. And that's a good indicator for me, at the very least, that it's time for me to try something different. And that's what I'm looking for in a company. Where can I find a company where I get challenges that will grow me as an individual? So what I want you to take away from this is that usually, if you go with a statistically boring and obvious answer to what a senior developer looks for in a company, is number one, pay. How much are they going to pay you? Number two is stability, because usually, especially when you're getting older, your career, as you are moving from being hungry and like looking for all the new things, and you might be more inclined to find a stable place of work where you can just ride the whole thing out. That's not always true, because there is quite a lot of senior developers who have this desire to just find themselves. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of startups that snipe really experienced developers from the corporate world to their startups, because the really tired senior developers, they just want to try something different. They want to matter more, things like that. So that's something that quite a lot of senior developers look for as well. And then at the personal level, I would say that I look for growth opportunities where I can get exposed to things that I know that I need to get better at, or things that I find very interesting, such as cloud or DevOps, things like that, security work, machine learning, things like that. Things that may be outside of the normal grind that I do every single day. Have a great day.